I'm going to do a little shop update here. Today is Wednesday, and it's the Wednesday that I'm posting this. So I'm going to break it up in some different segments. There's going to be a couple of clips of my truck about some things that I wanted to discuss with it. Anyways, one of the things that I got is a guy brought down an old Collins power machine. Now, if there's people out there that don't know what it is, it's a pipe threading machine, and Collins was a brand that was made, wasn't a big seller though. Most people that were in the piping industry used rigid power machines or for on-the-job type of applications, which this thing was. What he wanted to do was get rid of it. He wanted to try and sell it, but it didn't work, and he just wanted me to take a look at it, see if I could kind of fix it. Well, I can't, but there's a long story involved in it. It can be fixed, but there's a long story involved in it. So I'm not going to get into it. But anyways, that thing is in here. I'm going to find out if he just wants me to kind of jerry-rig it together as far electrical. See, the switch is gone, so that you can't use the switch on it. And I can't really find a switch for this thing, so that's what I mean by jerry-rigging it together. So I'll bring you back and show you a clip of the truck and what the issue was with that. So as part of a shop update, I'm in the shop. It's Friday before Christmas, and one of the things that I had to do is, I think I've mentioned this in previous videos, but when I bought those stacks, I couldn't understand why the black ones, and they did come black, were more expensive than the chrome or polished stainless steel, and only to find out that what they had done is taken a set of polished stainless steel ones and powder coated black over them. But the one thing that they didn't do is they didn't prep the stacks before the powder coat went on. In other words, they didn't scuff them up or sand them. So what happens is the powder coat, when it gets between hot and cold, well, it first started out about a year and a half after I put them on. This stack over here on the passenger side, the finish started crinkling on it, and it was well out of warranty. So then probably 6 months later, the finish started peeling off on it. That's when I discovered what the issue was, that it was put on over a polished stack without any preparation. But now what happens is there's still some left on it. I'm not really sure if you can see it. Let me see if I can pick it up in the viewfinder and see if you can see that there's a line right there. I don't want to touch it because it's wet still. That area up there has still got the powder coat on. But what happens is when it gets really cold out, you know, down around 0 or 10 degrees, that type of cold. And then the thermal difference between when you start the engine up or the engine starts getting warm, or when you shut the engine or shut it off after you've been running it and it's cold out, that thermal expansion and contraction must loosen that powder coat up, and it peels right off. So that's what I did. Was in here today. I'm editing a video, and So in between editing while it's being produced, I came over here and scuffed it up, peeled off what I found was loose now, and scuffed it up with a little bit of sandpaper and put some paint on it, black paint. It's not regular black paint, it's that heat or engine paint made for heat. So that's what I use. Okay, so we're back from that first clip of the truck. What I've got over here is I pulled out some of the sockets that I had bought in that auction and kind of separated them out. Now I threw them up on the welding table and separated them. This is standard sizes over on this line row here. This is metric in this row here. On the left hand side of both piles is 1/2 inch, and then in the middle is 3/8, and then on the right hand side of both piles is 1/4 inch drive. What I wanted to do is I had talked about in a previous shop update that I was going to bring a small toolbox over here and do that. And I am. I brought it over here, the sockets over here, and laid them on the welding table with the intentions of stacking that toolbox up. But what I need is some organizers for the sockets, little racks to put the sockets in the toolbox so that they stay separated in sizes, stay separated from metric to standard, and from 1/2, 3/8, and 1/4 inch. Etc. And I was going to just grab them off my tool guy, but my tool guy didn't show up last week, so they're kind of still sitting here. And again, today's Wednesday, so he won't be here until Friday. Hopefully I can get it off of him then, and I'll get these sockets put in that toolbox and bring that toolbox over here and get the sockets put in it. I'm gonna go to another clip of the truck, and I'll bring you back for some other things. I've got my truck in the shop, and I'm just gonna wash it off and then dry it. We're going through a real cold spell, and it's supposed to stay that way for the rest of the week, or for the next week. In the single digits the entire week. So some people might think it's kind of nuts to bring the truck in here and maybe get condensation in the fuel tanks, but the initial reason why I kind of brought it in here is I was kind of getting this little bit of a whine when in the truck, and originally I kind of didn't really know what it was, and then I narrowed it down to every time that I turned the steering wheel. Even when the truck wasn't moving, it would do that. So I just kind of assumed it was the power steering, and checking the fluid level, it was down. So I haven't seen any leaks on it, but so I don't know really why the power steering fluid level was down. I filled it up, and at the same time I got some additive to add to both fuel tanks. So if any condensation does form, again, the primary tank is full. That secondary tank has probably got around 50 gallons in it. So I've added additive to the primary tank, and we'll do the same with the secondary tank after I get it washed up. I'm just going to let some of these snow, ice, salt things melt off of the wheel wells, and then what I'll do is wash it. I just wanted to, as long as I had it in here, get the salt off of it. As anyone knows that lives around New York, in the winter time, your truck is nothing but a salt lick. But I'll bring you back. When I had talked about my toolbox and organizing those screwdrivers, I told you that the old drawer that the screwdrivers were in were going to become the Allen wrench drawer and Torx Allen wrenches and sockets and Allen wrenches. Torx Allen and sockets. In the old drawer that held the Allen wrenches, which this is, was going to be used for something else. And what I did is I picked up a set of picks for Mac, and because I had some picks from Sears, and what the problem was is the ones that I had from Sears is the handles would come off. If you had something like this and were pulling on the one from Sears, the handle would come off the shaft. So I picked up the set of picks, and I gotta tell you, this thing is invaluable for removing radiator hoses. You can slide it into the hose, kind of go around it a little bit and pull it out. And you know, kind of the older cars where the radiator hoses were exposed, radiator and heater hoses or small hoses for the cooling system were exposed. In the past, it was easy to get to the clamps to loosen the clamps up, and easy to get to the hose to swivel that hose off of the radiator or off of the engine block, the thermostat housing. It was easy to get to, but they aren't like that anymore. And sometimes you've got to fight to get in there, and this thing can get into some spaces where your hands or a pair of pliers to try and loosen that hose up to swivel it off of whatever it's on. That thing is invaluable because you can get it in there, kind of pry the hose up from it, and then use it to pull the hose back off of the thing. So I'm really happy with that set of picks. Kind of, you can probably see that scrap pile. I have started working on the truck, but I'm going to do that in a separate video. Working on pulling the engine out of my wife's old truck, so that's some of the stuff off of the truck. I'm almost to the point where I've got can pull the engine out right now, so I'll bring you back there. The tools that are up on top of the toolbox are from that. If you knew me, you know that they probably wouldn't be up there for a long time like that. But they're ones that I'm using on like a daily basis to get that engine out. Here is the engine hoist, and if any of you are familiar with my videos, mainly the tractor video, you know that the transmission for the 1066 has been sitting on this engine hoist for a long time, and two things dictated me getting that out of there. One, I needed this engine hoist to pull the engine out of my wife's old truck, and two, I'm kind of in the process of going to be starting work on the tractor again, so there will be some videos coming up on it. I've again taken that transmission, gotten it over to where it's going to go. There's a couple of things that I've got to do and prep before on the rear end, and prep to remount the transmission onto it, but I'll bring you back. There will be a upcoming video on the tractor. One of the other things I wanted to discuss is, again, like I had said previously in another clip in this video, that today is Wednesday. I am getting the lift back either today or tomorrow for so that I can start work on adding some lighting up between or over that bandsaw. The lighting isn't needed just for the bandsaw. There's always been a dead space in lighting. He didn't extend the lighting over the above the overhead doors logically, but what he should have been done was that we should have gotten some lighting in between the overhead doors. So there's always been kind of a dark space where I put that bandsaw, so I'm putting some lighting up over it, and it's going to be for the bandsaw and also to supplement the shop lighting because of the lack of lights around the overhead doors. I'm going to probably do the same thing in the back area. I don't know whether I'll do it while I'm doing this, but it will get done at some point in time. There's some dark spaces back there from the overhead doors. I'll take you back there and show that to you. This is back by the tractor, and if you look up, you can see the last light there, and it's probably a good 15 feet from the wall, the exterior wall where that overhead door is. Now, it may not look like it in the video. It kind of, when I look at the videos that I shoot back in these dark areas, what I call the dark areas, it doesn't look so dark in the videos, but you can actually see it, you know, because that light is back there. You can see the shadows on the ground created by the lack of light back here, getting ambient light in from a different direction, and that's kind of what I need. Now, I'm not going to put lights back here above the overhead door, like I'm not going to put it above the overhead door out in front, but I plan on getting a light probably onto the side of the overhead door, in between this overhead door, and probably one back there too, above the bead blaster. Now, there is lighting back there that I don't have on right now, but it's old style fluorescent type lighting, no reflector type things. If you can see that fixture over there, it's not on, but if you see that fixture over there running perpendicular to that heater, you see it's just two tubes and no reflector. Actually, I'll turn it on and bring you back. What I did is came back over here after I turned it on and so that I gave you the same angle shot on it. But let me, as you can see now, because it's cold, even though the heat's on, it's still a little cold in the shop, and fluorescents, those style fluorescent lights take a while to kind of warm up and brighten up. But let me take you over there and show you the floor area and show you the lack of light over there. So here we are over here. Now, I do have that bench over there, and I have lights that I put above the bench. So the bench isn't the issue because I have kind of task lighting on the bench. But as you get over here, you can see that the shadows created by the lack of light over here. And there is a huge lack of light over here. Now, in the summertime when you have the overhead doors open, it's not an issue because you get ambient light from outside coming in here and it lights the shop. But there's a huge lack of lighting over here. But this area doesn't really get used that much. I mean, I've got my the bead blaster over here, but there's a light in the blaster itself, so you really don't need it. But there is a huge lack of lighting over here.